No one was talking about what was going on in my house. Yeah. My mom was in and out of the house, in and out of the hospital, missing persons.
Everybody knows when something's not feeling right.
Yeah.
You know when something is off. And you know always what that thing is. Hey everyone, welcome to the Tori Kruse Show, where we're shining a light on real conversations and transformational stories with some of the most dynamic entrepreneurs and faith-driven leaders you'll ever meet. I'm Tori Kruse, your host, entrepreneur, virtual stylist, and former Miss Missouri USA, ready to guide you along this exciting journey. This isn't just any podcast. It's your new home for stories that uplift, conversations that transform, and a community that feels like family. From the real challenges to the exhilarating moments of achievement, we cover it all, infused with adventure, laughter, insights, and heartfelt discussions. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and let's get this show on the road. This is the Tori Kruse Show. Hey everyone, welcome back. I am so excited about today's guest. We have Karena Dawn on the show. Karena and I connected immediately in Austin, Texas. She is such a source of inspiration and hope. She's a mental health advocate. She's an entrepreneur, a New York Times bestselling author, a wife, a daughter, a Pomeranian mom. And today she shares her story with all of us of just her journey of entrepreneurship to her mental health struggles and how she overcame them. And I'm just so excited to share this journey with all of you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tori Kruse Show. I am so excited about today's guest. We are here with Karena Dawn, and I actually met Karena here in Austin. We're in Austin, Texas.
Yes, we are.
I love Austin.
Yes.
But I met Karena at an event just a few days ago. And we had the best time together. And I was like, okay, we 100% have to do a podcast together. And so today's going to be awesome. And your story is so inspirational. Everybody just heard your incredible bio, but you're even better in person. And so I can't wait just to interview you and just, share your heart and share your mission, your story with people and just how amazing you are.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be here. You're super magnetic when I met you, and we came up with this idea while you're here for a little swapsy. So podcast swap. After this, we're going to head up to the Big Silence and hear more about you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's just dive right into it. Yep. So your journey, a lot of people know you as the co-founder of Tone It Up and now the Big Silence. And you have so many accomplishments. You've been on magazine covers. You've been on TV shows. The whole 9 yards.
Yes.
But where in the world did this all start? Because you didn't start at the top, right? Like there was a journey to this. So, fitness has always been a part of your life. Where did you start with fitness?
Well, with fitness, when I was really young, I was in grade school and we trained for a half marathon when I was like 11 years old. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. I didn't like the training, but I did it. But it was when I crossed the finish line that I was like, okay, I accomplished something. Mm-hmm. That felt good. Yeah. And those endorphins. And that was really young. And I would run, I'm from Indiana. So we did the Indy half marathon. I think I did it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked about it before, then there was this darkness that came. Mm-hmm. And back in Indiana, my mom was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when I was 12, and it sent me through a decade of darkness. And I talk about that in my memoir. And I'm also a suicide survivor, which is kind of the reason I started the Big Silence, which we can get into. But there was this moment in my early 20s that I don't know where it came from, higher power, God, whatever it was, that after a 3-day bender in Hollywood, I moved from Indiana to LA. And I was like, there is something greater in your life. Like, what is that? Mm-hmm. And so I thought back into when was I my happiest? And that was when I was a kid and I ran. And I crossed the finish line. So I traded Hollywood night for getting up and running, swimming in the ocean, biking, training for something. Yeah. And I hated every moment of it. But as you know, when you're doing something and you set that goal, you have to put your heart in it and knowing that the outcome is going to make you feel really good.
Yes.
And so that first triathlon that I crossed the finish line, I was there by myself in San Diego and I cried because for the first time in my life, I believed that I could start something and finish it.
And so growing up, did you have anybody believing in you that you could actually do those hard things?
You know, I grew up in the 90s. No one was talking about what was going on in my house.
Yeah.
My mom was in and out of the house, in and out of the hospital, missing persons. And so I kind of just stayed to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made me, I was already a shy girl, but you can imagine I was even more shy.
Yeah.
So no, there wasn't, no one was doing therapy.
So during that decade of darkness that you had, what was your everyday like?
Getting through. Waking up, going to school, skipping school. I skipped a lot of school.
Rebel child.
Definitely a different lifestyle than I would have thought that, for me, it was like, grew up in Indiana, go to college, get married, have kids, do this, do your 9 to 5. And there was something that just like shifted. I was like, no, that is not your path. And so I always talk about, I never regret what happened. And I'm so grateful for my past. I learned at a very young age to take care of myself, stand up for myself, be responsible for myself, which sometimes it makes me a little stubborn person. It also, I was so shy that I also it took me a long time to have confidence too, because I think as a kid, I distracted myself with so many other things because I thought I wasn't worthy of love because my dad was great, but he was also going through his own stuff.
Yeah.
But no one was there to tell me what love is.
Do you have any siblings?
I do, Rachel. Yeah.
Rachel. And so were you guys close growing up?
No. Well, she's 2 years older, and I was the annoying little sister. And she was going through her own stuff, and I was going through mine. But now we actually talk every day. So she is the executive director at the Big Silence Foundation. She worked at nonprofit for over a decade. And then in 2021, I was like, hey, you want to come run the foundation and help people? And she's like, I think so. Let me get back to you. And then she's like, hell yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I bet you guys have such a story just from childhood to now, and actually now working together. When you weren't even close as a child, I mean, has that relationship just like completely grown and blossomed to the point of just more of a friendship even than
it's actually been really nice because working together has brought us together, and now we can reflect a lot on, remember that conversation? This happened when we were young. Was that even real? Because, my mom, she had a mental illness. And so we now can reflect and heal together.
Do you remember that moment when you really identified that your mom had a mental illness?
Okay, well, let's talk about the 90s again. So my mom was a missing persons for quite some time. And then she ended up in a hospital, and I believe it was Bloomington, Indiana. And we went to go see her, and we had to identify her. She was a Jane Doe.
Yeah.
And we walk in, and we're like, that's my mom.
And how old were you?
12. 11, 12. Yeah. And she was hooked up to all these IVs and everything. And, it wasn't until they gave her medication for a mental illness that then she started saying she had a family. So that was the moment they're like, your mom has schizophrenia. I'm like, how do you spell that? And I literally back then, they're like, she has schizophrenia. I'm like, what is that? They're like, mental illness. And so I had to go to a library by myself and get a book and educate myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did that take you down a path of personal development at a very young age?
I would say at that age, it was certain personal development. I turned to rave, smoking cigarettes.
At 12?
Doing drugs by 15.
Wow.
Escaping. I think a lot of kids go through that, especially because you don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a home that feels like a shell of a home.
Yeah.
And so where do you find your home? And you don't know, like at that age, you don't know who you are. You're still developing.
Yeah.
And so it makes you very lost.
I'm sure I can imagine that you were just searching to find belonging somewhere.
Yeah. I was disconnecting from myself, disconnecting from friends, relationships, family.
So that was all through your childhood and post high school. And then when was that moment when you actually turned the page? You decided, what made you want to go to LA from Indiana? I mean, I'm from Iowa originally. So Midwest girls here, we unite, but.
Well, okay, so backing up to before my mom was sick, she used to work out to Jane Fonda and Kathy Smith and Denise Austin, and I would watch her and I was like, I want to do that one day. A little girl.
Wow.
I would watch her and sometimes I'd join in to like VHS tapes. And so then as a kid, I was like, well, there was a fitness place on the East Coast. I forget the name of it now, but and I was like, I'm gonna move to the East Coast in North Carolina. It was like Crunch Fitness, or it was something I can't remember. I was like, I'm gonna be one of those women. I'm gonna be like Jane Fonda, and then that all went awry, and I just had lost myself. And then at 17, 18, my mom was missing, and a private investigator found her in LA. And she had driven across the country, and she was homeless.
And you were how old at this point?
18.
18.
Yeah. And my dad went out and tried to bring her home. Didn't work. And so I graduated from high school and was like, I'm going to go to California and bring mama home.
Mm-hmm.
Clean the house, made sure it was perfectly spotless for her to come home. Went to LA. Fell in love with it. I hung out with mom a little bit, stayed in Santa Monica, and my friend I traveled with went home after a week, and I was like, I'm staying another week. And I met friends, and I was doing all the LA things. I was still a raver at the time, and I was like, you know what? I want to move to California.
Yeah.
I thought I could bring mom home, couldn't. And then I was like, well, the parties are better in California than Indiana.
A little bit different.
So I moved there when I was 18.
Wow. And then did your mom end up staying out there?
I moved to Hollywood, where my mom then had a tiny apartment with a homeless man she married, and it was an empty apartment, cardboard box, and crazy stories. But she was there for about 2 months until she took off, and then I was in LA by myself at 18 in the middle of Hollywood on Orange Avenue.
Wow.
And Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard.
This just goes to tell you that, like, you can come from, like, literally the bottom.
Yeah.
And no one around me, no money, like, you know, and worked at a retail shop, and just having that belief in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
when did you develop that belief, though? Because I feel like it's just trial and error until you actually finally do believe in yourself. It's almost like a fake it till you make it until you actually believe in yourself. But you seem to be so strong at the age of 18 with all of the trauma, truthfully, that you'd been through. When did you develop that belief in yourself that you're like, I can do this. If I've done this at this young of age, I can do anything?
I think that's when it was. And I was probably 20 years old, 21, that I had that aha moment in a park after a 3-day bender and totally depressed. Like, look at me. Like, if I continue on this path, I will die.
Yeah.
Okay. When were you happiest? Running. And this. And then fitness came back in. And it was, I think it's your intuition. And a lot of people don't trust the intuition. Right?
Yeah. Everybody knows when something's not feeling right.
Yeah.
You know when something is off. And you know always what that thing is, more than likely.
Yeah.
But it's, do you want to have the courage to actually change your patterns and change the way that your life is going to unfold, even though it may be really, really hard?
Yeah. And that's like the fear. So then we have fear, one of those emotions, and not belief in yourself. And I always say it's harder to take that step towards better than staying the same. So it's freaking hard.
Yeah.
Like, I went to therapy. I, stopped going to the nightclubs, started surfing, getting the ocean and nature. And it's a transition. It takes years and years. And that's the other thing. It's not like you wake up one morning and you're like, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, and to that point, I think if you do just cut everything off, that's when people go crazy again in just a couple months.
Yeah.
But if you slowly kind of peel it back and you start finding that new way of life, it takes time. But if you do just cut everything, I think you're going to naturally never come out ahead.
Well, yeah, because then you can't change yourself in a day, because then you lose yourself. You're still that same person. You're like, okay, it's self-development. It's, okay, one little step. You have to make it so it's not intimidating, and be okay with, okay, I messed up here. I'm doing this. Okay, I'm going to make this better choice today and this better choice. And all those better choices turn into this.
Yeah.
And so as I went through that transition, and I was a triathlete, first female to be an Oakley athlete on all the billboards and for Perform Beautifully.
Okay, so pause for a minute. So you're telling me that through all of this chaos that had been going on in your life, you were also competing in sports?
Well, not until that was my healing part.
Yeah.
My 20s when sports became my therapy. So fitness became my therapy, and I started running again. I just ran. I ran on the beach in Santa Monica, the Strand in Manhattan Beach, and I would do marathons, triathlons, this and that. And I started building a career in fitness before the social medias. And yeah, triathlete covers and Runner's World and all this stuff. It just through connections I made and bonds that I made with people in the fitness world. And it was
So you ended up really turning your pain into purpose.
yes.
And you did that through running and exercise and endorphins. And you went from running just for kind of fun, healing, really, to then where's that A to B to B to C where you were actually on magazine covers, where you've developed this brand? What happened? Like you said, you developed connections.
Yeah.
What kind of connections and how did you develop those connections that actually led you to that point?
I would say, let's take this for example. There was just nothing that would stop me. So this is like when the internet and, pre-social media, I literally was just a networker. I mean, think about you. We connected first because you sent me a voice note on Instagram.
Yes.
And then now we met and then we're here and this. And like, I literally would just reach out to people and say, hey, this is it. Like, I would connect with people without fear.
Yeah.
Because at this point in my life, I was like, I got nothing to lose.
You have only a lot to win, girlfriend. Like that's where
and then I just, made genuine connections, and like one thing led to another and another and another. And, I started a blog before blogs were a thing. I just kept going and doing and waking up early and feeling energetic about bettering myself. And I wasn't doing this because I wanted to be on a magazine cover. I was doing this because I was happy and I wanted to share this. Like and it's an inspiration. And so then it was when, I met Katrina in a gym in Manhattan Beach, and I had this passion for fitness, and it was not the aesthetic. It was, okay, how can we spread the awareness that endorphins and working out and community, the connection, can really better people's lives. And so then we started YouTube. And Katrina had just moved to Manhattan Beach from Boston and had her own journey and mine, very different backgrounds and stories about, our love for fitness and just coming together. And then it was tone it up. But I would say from every step of the way, it was always being authentic to yourself.
Yes. And you can't beat that. But I think it takes some people a long time. And I would say even all of us a long time to find that most authentic version of you. But then, boy, when you find it, look out, world. Because then there's endless opportunities. And like when you're actually living in that joyful place that you were at and you just genuinely wanted to spread the love that in the light that you were feeling inside of you, look at what you've built because of that.
Yeah. And it's the beauty of, and don't get me wrong here, there was insecurity. Yeah. There was imposter syndrome. There was this. And that's the beautiful thing as you get older and more confident. And like this silly thing I was thinking and feeling like I wasn't worthy, Yeah. I mean, there were moments of like, I'm not worthy. And then moments of like, I got nothing to lose.
When you were feeling those moments of unworthiness, what would you do besides running? Like for a mental strategy, what would you do to really overcome that to become more confident in yourself?
Positive self-talk. I know that sounds cliche, but it really is.
Yeah. Did you ever do sticky notes or affirmations?
Oh, yeah.
Gratitudes or
vision board? Because I was in fitness and sports, I was like shooting for all the magazines like Self and Shape and doing 8-page spreads and all of that. And I had a vision board that had me on those magazine covers and traveling to certain locations for shoots. I was like, okay, vision board, enough. I can't keep going to all these dream locations. Like literally like manifesting.
Yes.
I truly believe in manifestation. Do you do vision boards?
Oh, yeah. Every single year.
And do they happen?
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's even now, even more than the vision boards, it's the words that I speak. It is unbelievable, the power of your words, because I truly believe that when you speak stuff out loud, God hears that. He puts it in your heart, and then it's here it is. Here it is. And it's just, I could go on and on about vision boards and affirmations and manifestation. It is real.
It really is. And again, another cliche thing, but it really is real. If you really focus on it and do it, and like my first vision board, I was like, one day I'll own a home. And I'm like, no. And then I did. One day, this is so cheesy, but I was like, $1 million.
Yes.
But,
yes. It's not cheesy at all. I think that's amazing.
This was like pre-tone it up, and and it was places I wanted to be and words that I wanted to feel. It's just those like daily reminders.
Yeah.
I think even now, I think for this year in 2024, I don't have a vision board now because it's like all in your head.
You know, it's just fun because it allows you to dream in a different way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you have so many things that are going on in your life, whether it's business, personal, and it just allows you to get in that space of what if, and this actually can happen.
Yeah.
And the thing that I realized when I was making a vision board this year more than ever was I focused last year and previous years on just a really big vision board with all these different areas. And now it's just a little bit more, it's still a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's more simple where, you know, you focus on a few things that I really want to focus on in your life to bring to fruition. And there's so much power.
Yeah.
And seeing it behind your eyes and then actually working. It's because, you know what, even there's still days, right? Always. I think just human nature, no matter your level of success, there's always days where you're like, oh crap, am I doing the right thing? Or should I be going in this direction or should I be going in that direction? And what should I be focusing on? And then you look at your vision board and it's like, oh, this is it. It really like realigns and it reignites that spark in your heart for what you're really doing everything for.
Yeah. And I will say, vision board 17, 18 years ago is different than today. Got all of that. Got my. But now it's more about like, what is happiness? Because then you achieve that. You got that vision board. So now you're like, okay, I'm here. Proud of myself. Proud of little Karena growing up would be like, damn, like you did it. But what is your purpose? And what are you putting out there to make the world a better place or to really bring true happiness and joy?
If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, that 12-year-old self, what would it be?
It's gonna be okay. Stay strong. You're not alone. I think that's a big message for our youth where suicide rates are at an all-time high.
Yeah. I actually lost my best friend in high school to suicide. So when you say that, it's like, it hits you.
Yeah.
So when was it, how old were you when you had that experience? Oh, it was when you were 12. Wow. And did somebody, you don't have to share all the details, but I'm sure it's all in your book anyway.
Yes.
But what was that moment where you got out of that space or, you know, you're here telling the story now?
It was back in when I woke up after a 3-day bender and that aha moment of you are something better. There is a higher power that does not want your life to be this way. You went through that so that you can help others.
Yes.
And so it started in fitness, it started in Tone It Up, and then it then manifested into the Big Silence Foundation and talking about mental health and normalizing that conversation and the amount of lives that we've saved through our Therapy for All program or the podcast or conversations that you just open up. And even like on the podcast, just having conversations, it helps me heal my traumas.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. Okay. So we need to shift over to the Big Silence. Why don't we tell everybody what the Big Silence is and really what your heart and your mission with that brand mission is?
Yeah, so Big Silence is a mental health foundation founded in 2021, dedicated to my mother who passed away in 2021. So we're a podcast, a book, programs, Therapy for All, providing therapy for anyone because a lot of times like health insurance doesn't cover therapy or therapists don't take health insurance. So you can reach out to us for a program and just opening up the conversation, destigmatizing mental health, which is a disease of the mind, and saving each other's lives. And I literally just like tone it up by making fitness fun, help change the world and community. Big Silence is helping change the world by taking away that stigma and people feeling like they're less than because either they have a family member or themselves going through something. We're all here to hold each other's hands.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. But that's the number one thing is not feeling alone.
Yeah.
Or not feeling like less than. Yeah. Exactly what you said. So is this for all ages?
Yeah.
I love that.
All ages, all genders, all everything.
I love that. Okay. So what is, I know you have your book. And so everybody will link the book, The Big Silence, here in the show notes. But then also describe these programs that you also have that people can access immediately.
Yeah. So therapy for all is our biggest one. So just go to thebigsilence.com. We just built a new website. So head over there. It launched yesterday. And if you or someone you know needs therapy, they don't know where to start, head over to us and we'll help match you with a therapist in our program and we'll pay for your therapy.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible. I love this mission. Are you guys doing any sort of events, fundraisers? How can people donate to the foundation?
You can donate at the website. And then, yes, in May, I am currently recording the audiobook of my memoir, which has taken a while. It's a lot to relive and relive. It took me 5 years to write the book, and now I'm like reading it.
Yes.
So we are going on a mobile podcast tour in May for Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh my gosh. Are you stopping in Scottsdale, Arizona by chance?
You know what? I think we should. I'm putting it. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
I'm coming to Scottsdale.
Perfect. You guys heard it right here first. And actually, so in the recording of this is a couple months before May, but my podcast is relaunching May 13th.
Oh my God.
So I think we just have our first episode right here.
It got Scottsdale.
It's Scottsdale. Yeah, definitely. So, okay, this is amazing. So you're actually going to go on a podcast tour.
Yes.
You're going to spread the word, spread the mission.
Yeah. We're going to do events. We're choosing our cities now. So contact me, DM me where we should go. We've got Scottsdale on the list.
Yes.
Yeah, we've built a mobile podcast studio, but we'll also do events.
Okay. So one of the things that you're, talking about these events, you are a guru at building community. And, a lot of the listeners here, they definitely want to build more and more community all the time, but everybody's in different stages, right? They're either at the very beginning, they have a little bit of a community, or sometimes, some of our listeners are actually hosting pretty large masterminds and events. If it's somebody who's really more at the beginning stages, what would you recommend to them in building a really strong community? Because sometimes most of the time, I would say it's not about the numbers. It's more about the strength and the foundation.
It's the relationships that you build. And like, for me personally, and even with Tone It Up, it's connecting and going to someone and like actually getting to know them one by one.
Yes.
And making that connection. I just go back to authenticity, which we all talk about and say, but literally from the beginning of Tone It Up, it was like girlfriend to girlfriend approach, being who you are, being honest and real, and networking is great.
What would you suggest to people to build their network? Because, as an extrovert, I love meeting new people. I love networking.
I'm an introvert and I love doing that, but then I'm like,
yes, I am like that though too. It's like extrovert, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I need to like retract and rejuvenate. But some people are like, okay, I'm totally open to networking. I just don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, you're great at going to events. We're here at South by Southwest right now in Austin and buzzing around and meeting people and having fun and
having a lot of fun, might I add. Yeah, we were having some fun. We were 2 hours past the event.
Just put yourself out there. And it's that confidence, just show up to that event. If it's something in your city, you've been to like Lori's event or other, like just putting yourself out there and not being afraid, like, and knowing, feeling like you're an imposter syndrome. Like you are you have a gift, you know what it is. So listen to yourself. And
yeah, I know. You just have to get in the room and don't worry about everything being perfect. That's the biggest thing. I think so many people get so intimidated by like making sure your elevator pitch is perfect or making sure you're wearing the right thing. And although that's what I do is help people, style people for events, but also just get in the dang room and then let's figure the rest out if you're struggling with that.
We started Tone It Up and we didn't even know what an elevator pitch was until year 5. And someone's like, what's your elevator pitch? And we're like, what's your business plan? We're like, it's in our head. Like literally, you just do it.
Yeah, you do.
Otherwise, it's, oh, I'm not ready. Oh, like you just go.
And you're going to fail. You're going to maybe look like an idiot once in a while too. It's okay. Just keep going.
Like an idiot plenty of times. But I just laugh and have fun while doing that.
One of the things I don't even know if you know this, but I lived in LA for a little bit.
Yeah.
And when I was living there in Hollywood, I was really wanting to become a sports reporter. And I had 0 contacts in the sports reporting industry. And I had one of my friends recommend that I just connect with everybody on LinkedIn in that industry, in the sports reporting field. And I would connect with people on LinkedIn until LinkedIn would block me out. It would say you reached the limit. And I did that every single day, like until it would just completely block me out again. And then when these people would connect with me on LinkedIn in LA, I would say, hey, do you have 10 or 15 minutes for a phone call or, 20 minutes for a cup of coffee? And I knew nobody. I mean, and this was a little bit, I always made sure I was in a safe place, like if I was going to meet somebody for coffee. But that is how I got to Fox Sports for an interview. The same person that interviewed Aaron Andrews, I had a meeting with because I did that.
Yeah.
But did I know what I was doing? No, I was not qualified at all. I had made it like this, I rigged up a sports reporting reel.
Yeah.
And you just do it.
You just do it.
And just stop being so afraid of doing everything perfect. And this is coming from a perfectionist, might I add. Like I majorly am, but
that is, you keep going. Rejection is rejection. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And this is like aging me, which is fine. I'm about to turn 43, but I was doing my own PR and I was doing it as a triathlete and wanted to get into like magazines. This is when there were fax machines. My first magazine spread was with Self magazine, and I woke up at 5 a.m. and I would just power fax. And like
power fax, like fax machines. If you don't know what it is, Google it, you guys.
You couldn't even like attach photos to an email yet. So I'd be like, hi, I'm Karena. I live in Los Angeles and I do this and this, and here's my photo. And it's black and white. And they contacted me. They're like, we'd like to book you for a shoot. Will you fly to Jamaica? We're flying. I was like, what? I'm going to Jamaica?
That's wild.
We're faxing? I was like, hell yeah. So
that is awesome. Honestly, it's like every no is one step closer to your yes. Yeah. You'll get so many no's, but then you get that one yes and you're like, heck yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I forgot about fax machines.
I know.
But they were around when I was a kid.
And whom I'm like, I'm going to fax this magazine and this agent and this. I'm just faxing black and white fax.
Oh my gosh, that is priceless. Okay, so now I have to ask you, like, what was it like actually being on the magazine cover? What was that whole experience?
It goes back to, I think I always would get emotional because it's like, oh, it's a picture. It's in a magazine. But it was like, I'm here. I survived. And I'm following my dreams, and something is coming and something is happening. And it's just this life that we have. And like, it gave me the confidence to keep power faxing.
Yeah. But the title of this episode might be Power Faxing with Karena Dawn.
But it's just like, no shame in my game because I had nothing.
I mean, start at the bottom. Now you're here, girl.
I don't know. It's just like those little, and life is about the accomplishments and figuring out what's important. But it is like, and we are, for me, the business accomplishments and friendships and connection. It's all in our, what we need in life to find that joy and that happiness. At least for me.
No, 100%. I definitely think that too. Was there any point in your career that you have like really gotten caught up in like the accolades and accomplishments?
What do you mean caught up?
Where your like identity was wrapped around it and you had to kind of like break the identity of that, or you have such a authentic personality and humble personality where it's like sometimes maybe you haven't.
For me personally, even, in the past and with Tone It Up, it was not my identity. Mm-hmm. It's not like, I am Karena, founder of Tone It Up. I am Karena on this. I am Karena, the investor. I have a different way of speaking about who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I am just me.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I've seen some entrepreneurs who get too caught up into the identifying themselves with a certain title of a founder or of this. So then if that goes away,
you lose. What do you have left?
You're like, who am I? And so I think it's so important to do the work on finding who you are without anything. Strip away everything else. And so if it all goes away, you're still okay.
So true. How do people identify who they are?
I mean, for me, a lot of meditation, a lot of reading, a lot of solo time. I think it's so important to be able to spend time with yourself and a lot of reflection of like, what is important to me. And I'm not always good at this. It's like, I definitely let things in my life that I should have said no to, and I know is not good for me, but it really just, I really do think, because when I was 33, I probably put too much weight on stuff that didn't matter.
Yeah. I think it's a process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely in my 20s, I can say I for sure did.
Yeah.
And then now I think it's when you hit your 30s, it is a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
A lot different than your 20s. But
My 20s. Like,
but it's so interesting. Everybody has their own path,
yeah.
right? And no two people are going to have the most identical path
Yeah.
ever in life or success or relationships and all of that. So I'm so excited to just, now that we're friends and we had this connection, amazing connection the other day when we went to Kendra Scott building my cowboy hat. I think I spent like 3 hours, you guys, building a cowboy hat. I mean, it was like my dream.
What was it, Meg, who works there? She's like, I think you're good. You're like, no, let me just.
Well, every time that she would put a new little string around my hat, I was like, oh, I really like this piece of it. Oh, the turquoise. It was like the squirrel moments were really, coming in hot for that cowboy hat. But I love it. And I almost wore it for this interview just because you were there creating it with me.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I cherish our time together and it's just been really fun. I love connecting with other like-minded individuals, but really those exactly like you who are super authentic and genuine and have had so much success, but now you're using your pain for purpose and bringing joy to so many other people's lives. So thank you for spending your time with me today. This is amazing. Thanks for tuning in to the Tori Kruse Show. If today's episode inspired you, let's keep the momentum going. For our YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always in the loop with our latest episodes. And for our podcast listeners, your ratings and reviews are incredibly valuable. They help us reach more people and continue bringing inspiring stories your way. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's a growing community of family. Every like, share, and review helps us grow on our journey together, helping us to highlight more impactful stories. Until next time, keep being the light for yourself and others. See you on the next adventure.